Right now on the National Weather Desk, will the weather cooperate with your Thanksgiving plans?
Most of us will be enjoying some pretty quiet, tranquil weather.
As peak travel season arrives,
Yeah, 5 4 3 2 1 testing 5 4 3 2 1, and we're also doing like what Christy does. Christy opens up the mic like 10 seconds before. Are we still doing that?
right now on the National Weather Desk, will the weather cooperate with your Thanksgiving plans?
Most of us will be enjoying some pretty quiet, tranquil weather.
As peak travel season arrives, we'll take you to the tarmac to see how airplanes are de-iced.
They always start at the highest point and work their way down.
The clues that led NASA to identify part of the Space Shuttle Challenger laying on the ocean floor.
So that was really what helped us have clear and convincing evidence this was Space Shuttle Challenger.
Why it's so important to know the signs of hypothermia.
So you can recognize them in yourself or in others around you.
And why some Christmas tree sellers say you should be buying your tree before Thanksgiving.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Veronica Johnson. The next few days are among the busiest travel days of the year. So our big weather story is the weather you will encounter while traveling. And the good news is for most of the nation, the forecast is looking pretty good. Meteorologist Cheryl Lemke has a look at what you can expect.
We are rapidly approaching one of the busiest travel days of the year, and I'm glad to report the weather looks pretty quiet across most of the country. Looking ahead now for Tuesday, most of us will be enjoying some pretty quiet, tranquil weather thanks to a big sprawling area of high pressure. We'll see some sunshine for Boston with highs about 47, up to 53 for the nation's capital, 59 for Kansas City, and not too shabby either for Southern California with Los Angeles, 73 degrees and partly cloudy skies. Even for Wednesday, much of the country still not looking too bad. And we'll actually see temperatures a little bit above average for this time of the year. Chicago normally sees highs about 46, but instead 54 degrees for Wednesday. Kansas City, too, looking at temperatures anywhere from 5 to about 10 degrees above average. But if your travels do take you into or out of the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area, there could be a few slight delays there because there will be some rain showers developing over parts of Texas. But again, much of the country in pretty good shape as we approach Thanksgiving Day.
Parts of the south and east could see some storms later in the week impacting Black Friday and the trip back home. Well, the Thanksgiving travel rush is already underway. AAA says nearly 55 million people are expected to travel. About 5 million of them will be flying. Hopefully, the weather will cooperate. From Northern Virginia's Dulles International Airport in Washington, our Washington, D.C. reporter Tom Rousey takes a look at how airlines are preparing for whatever the weather will bring.
It will pick up a lot Tuesday and more so Wednesday, but already there's signs of holiday bustle at Dulles. Meanwhile, outside,
They always start at the highest point and work their way down.
as the weather gets colder, de-icing crews get busy as well.
And then they go over to the wings.
Jim Decker is United's director of ramp operations at Dulles. He says even if it's sunny, if there's frost, planes get sprayed once. But in winter weather, they get sprayed twice. The first time with a chemical and water mixture to get ice and snow off the plane.
What we do is we heat it up to 180 degrees and we spray it on the airplane.
The second time they use a goopier substance that keeps ice from sticking to the plane again before it takes off. Otherwise, ice on the wing or tail could prevent the plane from having enough lift to take off safely. At its Dulles hub, the process for United begins when a passenger-filled plane is led by what's called a follow-me truck to a de-icing area.
What they're going to do is they'll clean it off right here and then they'll take off to the runway that's right there.
It's important to do de-icing near the runway because although sometimes there's plenty of time before the effectiveness wears off,
Sunny conditions with no precip and no wind and everything, you have about an hour and a half.
in the icy, sleety conditions we often see in the D.C. area, the time frame can drop to just minutes.
We'll make sure that we work with the FAA tower and say, hey, we got this flight that has to get out within the next 15 minutes. We're spraying it now if we can have clearance to the runway immediately.
Decker says United's de-icing crews have done about 65 planes here so far this fall. Their busiest months are usually December and January, but they've been needed as early as October. After de-icing, what's called a pad commander always double checks to make sure it's been done right before the plane heads off.
And by the way, whatever the weather is in your area, if you are traveling this Thanksgiving, I'm told by United Airlines they expect the busiest departure day to be Wednesday, and they expect the busiest day, period, to be Sunday when a lot of folks return. At Washington Dulles International Airport in Virginia, I'm Tom Rousey for the National Weather Desk.
The past week or so has made it pretty clear that colder weather is here for many, even though we're still officially in fall. One really dangerous type of winter weather is a snow squall. Hopefully you won't encounter this during your holiday travels. These systems are so hazardous, the National Weather Service issues warnings on them, just like they would for severe thunderstorms, tornadoes, or flash floods. Let's go to Cincinnati, Ohio now, where meteorologist John Gum explains.
Well, one of the keys to snow squalls is the fact that they happen quickly. They have a sudden onset. And as they happen, they can produce whiteout conditions where you can't see your hand in front of your face in some of these more intense snow squalls. Obviously, if you're traveling, particularly at interstate speeds, this can be a major problem because these sudden bursts of snow and wind, they produce not only whiteout conditions, but they quickly make the roads turn bad, really slick. So think about it. You're traveling along, all is fine, and then suddenly you can't see anything and the roads are covered in snow. And that is a major problem. Oftentimes on interstates, these things will produce multi-car pileups. That is why they're so incredibly dangerous. And just as quick as they come, they go away just as fast. And then the sun pops out again and everything seems like it's okay. But if you encounter these, you got to be very careful on the roads. If you come across a snow squall, reduce your speed. Whatever you do, though, don't slam on the brakes because everything is slick. So you got to be careful. Make sure that your headlights are on, perhaps even your hazard lights as the visibility goes down. And if you can't continue, if it seems too dangerous, find a safe spot to pull over, but not on the road. You got to get off the road. If you're on an interstate, the best thing to do is exit the interstate as soon as you can.
While you're unlikely to encounter snow squalls heading out for Thanksgiving this year, snow could certainly be a factor later this winter, assuming you live in a cold weather zone. So are you prepared for driving on snow and ice? Meteorologist Matt Gunn is in Kirksville, Missouri, with some advice.
Old Man Winter decided to show up early in the Heartland this year. With snow making its return to the Heartland, now is a good time to refresh yourselves on how to stay safe on the roads in the coming months. Some important items to be sure to have in your vehicle in the coming months include a phone charger, blankets, a first aid kit, an ice scraper, and something to provide some traction, like sand or cat litter. It's also important for drivers to understand that it's better to travel at lower speeds during inclement conditions. For instance, if a person is driving at a speed of 35 miles per hour on dry land, it would take them 3 to 4 seconds to stop. On snow, that stopping time is almost doubled, and on ice, it's tripled. If you do find yourself sliding, try to turn your vehicle in the direction it's going. Another reminder is to allow more space between you and other vehicles on the road in the coming months. Finally, if you can postpone your plans, you are encouraged to do so in the event of a winter storm.
With just 33 days until Christmas, there's a bit of a tree shortage. You can blame the weather as well as transportation delays. The owner of a farmer's market in South Carolina says it's been difficult to get those really large trees. However, trees are thick and full this year because the state had a good rainy season. Still, demand is high, and they've already sold half of their inventory.
You know, different things going on with the weather over the last couple of years. And then the whole thing is also with trucking. Trucking is a very, very difficult thing this year. We're getting things down here, so that's why we got them so much earlier, because we didn't want to get them later because we couldn't get the trucking going.
His advice: get your tree before Thanksgiving dinner. He's in the Myrtle Beach area and says they expect to sell out completely by the weekend. Well, a good swath of the country has been experiencing cold weather. An example is this photo snapped Monday morning in Providence, Rhode Island, of water frozen in a fountain. The temperature dropped to 21 degrees yesterday morning, the coldest so far this fall. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, impacts from Hurricane Ian and Nicole are still being felt. We'll look at what beach erosion is doing to local wildlife in Florida. And we'll talk with a NASA scientist about the recent discovery of debris from the Challenger space shuttle.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. Temps are starting in the 20s and 30s this morning. Another cool start to the day. We'll have a lot of sun today. We'll have lighter winds than yesterday. Look for high temperatures in the low to mid 40s. Then as we go into Wednesday, it's a partly sunny day. Winds won't be an issue that day either. Temps will get a boost into the low to mid 40s. Now our next cool down gets going on Thanksgiving. We'll enjoy a lot of sun. There's the cold turkey. Air temperatures on Thanksgiving should stay in the 30s.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. Starting off on our Tuesday with temperatures generally in the 40s by about 9 a.m., but look at these 50s into the afternoon. That's a little bit better, mid to upper 50s in some spots with a good deal of sunshine. As our latest weather maker, fair weather high pressure continues to hold sway and take control. That means a lot of sunshine, a little bit warmer for the day today, and even warmer yet towards the Thanksgiving holiday. That's the scene here.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed, your Southeast hides for today. It looks like we're seeing 59 degrees up in Nashville, a cool 59 in Raleigh, 60 degrees Birmingham, Charleston, about 66 degrees. A little warmer. Get down into Florida, South Florida, feeling pretty good at 83 degrees in West Palm, Tampa, 76 degrees. It looks like we're seeing plenty of sunshine over the southeast, except for down in Florida. You got a stationary front down around Miami, creating some showers and even some thunderstorms. But for the most part, the southeast should be pretty good and nice and clear as we go in through the overnight.
All right, now let's check to see the weather in cities across the country. We start out in Washington, D.C., where we've got sunny skies and high temperatures that'll head up into the mid-50s. First time in a long time we're that warm, and expected to be mild through the holiday weekend. Next, a look at St. Mary's, Pennsylvania. Partly cloudy skies expected later today. High temperature of about 45 degrees. And as we head south to Surfside Beach, South Carolina, look at the clouds. Overcast conditions expected later. There is even a chance of rain with an afternoon temperature of 61 degrees. And we're going to wrap things up here in Cadillac, Michigan, where overcast skies also expected, but much colder. Just 36 degrees for a high temperature. Well, it's been nearly 37 years since the Challenger tragedy, the space shuttle carrying 7 astronauts that exploded just over a minute after liftoff. Just recently, a film crew found a piece of the Challenger at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Emily Gracie recently spoke to a NASA program manager about the discovery.
You know, a few months ago, some divers, along with the History Channel, came to us and said we found something very unusual in the ocean. They were doing an exploration for a World War II aircraft, so they're looking for something very different than they found. But through those searches underwater, they came across an object. Of course, it didn't look the vintage of World War II. It looked much more modern. So they came to us at the Kennedy Space Center and showed us some stills, showed us some video underwater. And overlooking through those, it became pretty apparent that it definitely was of space shuttle origin. And then looking closer, of course, we can confirm it was Space Shuttle Challenger.
How did you determine what it was?
As you may remember, the space shuttle was covered with a heat protective surface, thermal protection system. And that comprised over 30,000 tiles, silica tiles. They were all over the bottom of the space shuttle. And we start seeing pieces of those still adhered to the material. So that was really what helped us have clear and convincing evidence this was Space Shuttle Challenger.
Where is this artifact going? Where is it going to live?
Well, the artifact now is still in the ocean. After we found this, we have to decide what the next steps may be. And there's a range of options on the table. The one thing I can assure you, what we're going to do is make sure we honor the legacy of the Challenger crew. That's first and foremost in our minds.
A lot of our viewers perhaps either don't remember it or weren't even born when this happened. Can you tell me why this was so impactful and why it brings back really hard memories for a lot of people who maybe even weren't directly involved, but perhaps just saw it happen live?
The public and American people get very connected to their astronauts. For us, they're our friends and our colleagues, but they're also our heroes. And the American people identify with that, which is a wonderful connection we all have together. So when we had something like Challenger, where our heroes were going to work, going into space to improve life on Earth, and that's why they do that, and we lost them on that mission, it became a very personal loss for a lot of folks. I know when this piece was found, my emotions went back to that day of loss, and hearing from a lot of folks over the last couple of weeks, I heard a very similar sentiment, Emily, that folks remembered where they were, what they felt like, brought them back to 1986 and the special crew we had.
Yeah, it really was gut-wrenching watching that live. The History Channel special will be airing tonight. To check out the longer version of Emily's interview with Mike, including how this artifact is helping with future NASA missions, search for the National Weather Desk on YouTube and click on the interviews playlist. Well, Hurricanes Ian and Nicole caused significant beach erosion along much of Florida's coastline. The damage from these storms is having an impact on more than just the man-made structures or people in general. As West Palm Beach reporter Dylan Hyberberman tells us, wildlife that relies on these beaches could also face consequences.
This kind of erosion is not a good thing for wildlife, and though the 2 hurricanes came just after turtle nesting season, the erosion may have a big impact in 2023.
With these 2 storms back to back, the beaches really saw a hit.
Dr. Holly Sweat, an ecologist at the Smithsonian Marine Station, says that turtles would be seriously impacted by coastal erosion.
If we have a beach that is so eroded that it doesn't have a lot of space for the turtles to crawl up and make their nests, then that's going to be a big impact on their populations.
Fortunately, biologist Cody Mott of the In-Water Research Group says nesting was all but done when these storms hit, and that less than 1% of the 4,600 sea turtle nests the group monitored on North Hutchinson Island were immediately impacted. But that doesn't mean these turtles are off the hook.
The impacts for Nicole aren't going to be on sea turtles this year. It's going to be next year. A lot of these beaches are severely eroded, and there's going to be renourishment projects to bring more sand back onto those beaches.
Turtles aren't the only animals impacted by these storms either.
You just find piles of seagrass up on the coast or up on the beaches here in the lagoon. And that is going to impact the manatees because, as you know, that's their food source.
Clams and crabs and things that live in the sand, and they're adapted to live at a certain place along the beach. So when the waters come in and submerge them, and when the sand erodes, they can't live there anymore.
Dr. Sweat says the renourishment will likely happen over the winter, while Hoffman expects more seagrass to grow prior to the next storm season. In St. Lucie County, Florida, I'm Doan Huberman reporting.
With the storms in New York recently, you probably heard how lake effect snow can impact small areas in a big way. But did you know that there can be even smaller areas of confined weather known as microclimates? Let's head to Seattle, Washington, where meteorologist Theron Zahn used an example last week to demonstrate one way microclimates can form.
Mountains can have a huge impact on the forecast and the current conditions. To give you an example, the Cascade Mountains there have gaps that winds can develop through and really speed up as they go along the foothill areas. You can see shaded. That is where we have a wind advisory in effect right now. Gusty winds exceeding 40 miles an hour. Already have some reports of power outages. But to give you an idea how different it can be just a few miles away, take a look. We're in Seattle. Winds are fairly light right now. It's a beautiful day, but folks who live maybe 30, 40 minutes from this location actually have their power out and are dealing with severe weather.
One issue that can really pose a threat during the winter is hypothermia. But did you know if you're at risk or just cold? How do you know? Well, to find out, let's head to meteorologist Lindsay Storrs now in Salt Lake City, Utah.
As we head into the winter month, it's important to know the signs of hypothermia so you can recognize them in yourself or in others around you. Shivering is the first thing you'll notice because it's the body's automatic response to cold weather. It's the body's way of trying to warm itself. Next, you may notice confusion, difficulty speaking, sleepiness, or stiff muscles. If you see these signs, you should call 911 immediately. While you're waiting for medical help to arrive, make sure you remove any wet clothing and replace it with warm blankets or coats if possible.
Take a look at this cloud formation. These are lenticular clouds over Mount Rainier in Washington state. Lenticular clouds are stationary clouds that form mostly in the troposphere and typically in parallel alignment to the wind. And time now for a brief check on your weather wit before the break. At any given minute, how many thunderstorms are taking place on Earth? Is it 5, 500, 2,000, or 5,000? We'll have the answer later in the show.
Well, a very good Tuesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael taking a look at your weather story across the Midwest. A lot of temperatures getting into the 50s, even some 60s for the day today. And a little snow just to the far north there in Minnesota. And we're dry for Wednesday, looking pretty good for us. Clouds start moving in, though, from the south on Wednesday. And we got a few showers starting to sneak in on Thursday, Thanksgiving. So could see a few showers starting to move their way back in later into the day Thursday for us. But all in all, temperatures staying kind of mild.
Good Tuesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Chris Uche. Look at a forecast today across the region. Starting off some sunshine, North Texas, Oklahoma to Arkansas. Clouds linger Central and South Texas through the day. Highs only in the 50s and still could get a few sprinkles or a little bit of mist. Otherwise, sunshine from Dallas to Little Rock. And then Wednesday, quite a bit of cloud cover in the morning across Texas. And then for the afternoon, clouds, Oklahoma City, Tulsa to Little Rock, Austin, maybe a sprinkle or shower. Temperatures continue to run cooler than normal Wednesday.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson. Here's what's happening across the West. We finally have a storm system mixing things up and getting rid of stagnant air around the Pacific Northwest. But temperatures are going to be warming up. As you can see, we're getting in the low 50s in the Northwest. As a cold front swings through, it's going to bring in freezing rain across a good portion of Washington state. And that's going to cause some icy roads. That's the scene from here.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Albany, New York is a distance from the Great Lakes, but what you see here is snowfall from a lake effect band that sat over that area for a bit. Meteorologist Craig Adams says the whole lake effect snow process is quite fascinating. Meanwhile, in Alabama, meteorologist Alan Seals captured this video of alto cumulus clouds he noted were getting thicker over Mobile, a sign of changing weather.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
Let's take a look now at some of the great content that we see from our viewers across the country. These photos were submitted through our Chime In platform. Take a look at the brilliant colors here, the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. This was the view after rain fell in North Carolina. And while some areas of the country are digging out from underneath feet of snow, others still have pieces of fall, like Lakehead, California. And here's an example of fall clashing with winter. Near record cold froze the water in this bird bath, also freezing these fall colors in time. And we would love to share your weather content on the air. You can find us on your favorite social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search NAT WX Desk or National Weather Desk. And we'll be right back. Earlier, I asked, at any given minute, how many thunderstorms are taking place on Earth? Is it 5, 500, 2,000, or 5,000? The answer, 2,000. It's estimated that any given time there's 200 thunderstorms in progress over the Earth's surface. Thanks for joining us. I'm meteorologist Veronica Johnson. Make it a great Tuesday and keep an eye on the sky.